Hello, everybody, and welcome into Commodity Culture, where we break down commodities markets, sound money principles, and geopolitics, all with the goal of making you a better investor in the commodities sector. My name is Jesse Day. Today is February 2nd, 2026, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Mario Innecco, a veteran of the industry who worked for major financial institutions in London for over 20 years and is currently the host of the Innecco 64 YouTube channel. Mario believes the recent dramatic correction in the silver price is a temporary anomaly, driven by the COMEX itself, along with the parasitic banker class determined to scare the public away from sound money. Ultimately, Mario thinks reality will prevail over fiat illusions, and he sees the potential for global hyperinflation as the political elites lose their grasp on power and public confidence is shattered. All of this and so much more ahead in my conversation with Mario Innecco. Mario Innecco, great to have you back on Commodity Culture once again. Now, the first question, of course, is about the silver market. I'd love for you to speculate for us in terms of the drop in silver on the last trading day of last week, crashing around 25% in a single day. So far today, we've seen a further drop. We were down 11, 12%. I think now we're down around 8%. What on earth is going on with silver at the moment?
Well, not much really. At least not my silver coin. It's still a silver dollar. I think it's just a lot of shenanigans in the COMEX and over-the-counter foreign exchange market based in New York and London, and that's what it's about. And on Friday, yes, silver came off like early in the day, London time, down to like 95, I think, and then it rebounded a little bit, and then after the physical market in London kind of closed after like 3:30 p.m. London or 10:30 a.m. New York time, the bullion banks, and whoever came in and flooded the market with paper shorts, and that took the market down to like 73 from like almost 100 in a matter of minutes, and it's crazy, and it scares people off. And I think, of course, silver had rallied strongly from like the end of December till Thursday. It made a high at 121. We were down in the low 70s at the end of last year. So yeah, it needed a correction, but I think it was used by the usual suspects to accentuate it even more, to try to scare off the people that are going on to COMEX and buying like contracts. For example, January contracts, which was in the front month, they bought almost 10,000. Well, they bought 10,000. They took almost 10,000 contracts of delivery, which is 50 million ounces, which is unheard of for a January contract. And I see that in February, they're already doing the same. They've already asked for over 2,000 contracts in delivery the first 2 days of February. And what the bullion banks, I think, are trying to do is discourage these people by creating an artificial price so that they'll stop trying to clear out the COMEX of its registered silver inventory, and the LBMA for that matter as well. And we've noticed as well, Jesse, that the silver price in China is still, the premium's still there. I think it's still trading around 100 now. It has come off, of course, but big discrepancy. So I think that's what's going on. Unfortunately, it's going to discourage a lot of people to get involved, and maybe even the people who got in late, who thought it was a good thing to do. Even people who are just buying physical, they're getting out. I think a lot of people are concerned that this is like 1980 and 2011 and silver's going to drop and we're never going to see it go back up again. I'm holding to my guns, and I believe we're going a lot higher because the fundamentals haven't changed. If anything, things are getting worse geopolitically, economically, socially. I mean, there's so much mess going on, not just in the US, but also in Canada, in the UK. The whole of the West is like seems to be crumbling apart. And yeah, I don't trust the people in charge. The politicians nor the bankers, because the bankers seem to be in charge. Jesse, I saw a story in the FT that one of the guys in that list. I don't like to use the name of the list, but everyone knows the list I'm talking about that's just come out. Well, there was a minister in the UK. He became ambassador to the US last year. He's had to resign. He resigned months ago from that because he was in that list. And back in 2009, he was giving information to JP Morgan about UK policy before anyone knew about it. So, yeah, the bankers and the politicians are in bed together, and I don't trust them. So, I'm holding on to my gold and silver. Probably, hopefully, try to get some more, if anything. So, that's how I see this these last couple of days. And I've said to viewers in the past of my channel that you need to be even keel, have an even keel. You know, when gold and silver are going up like they have, keep cool. Don't get too cocky. And then the same thing now. Just yeah, just it's a psyop. Really, they don't want the general public to be financially independent, and they do that. They don't care, and also they're trying to cover them, their financial situation because they have huge short positions in paper, and if anything, this has probably exacerbated it. And I don't think the big institutional, even central bank buyers are going to stop. They don't care about a little correction in silver. They're going to come back and try to get more physical. I saw that President Trump just announced a $12 billion fund to secure rare minerals. I mean, so yeah, silver's part of that. And so I think it's the wrong time to get out.
Very great summary. We are going to get into the list a little bit later because I think everything is connected here when it comes to the monetary system and these people who are in charge pulling the levers of power. But I want to get back to last week, Friday, because from what I understand, and David Jensen wrote about this recently, circuit breakers should have kicked in at the CME COMEX when silver dropped so dramatically in such a short amount of time. I want to read a quote from David Substack. He said, "What the CME COMEX calls dynamic circuit breakers automatically kick in when the price of silver drops or rises by 10% on a rolling 1-hour basis. We can see that from 12:30 to 1:30 Eastern Time PM, the price of silver, both cash spot and futures, ranged between $91 and $75, representing an 18% range, and yet the CME COMEX automatic circuit breakers were not activated nor announced by the CME." So if what David alleges here is true, this could indicate that the exchange is heavily complicit in this sort of price suppression. Is that how you see things?
Yeah, I mean they've been doing it for decades. They they did the same with the Hunt brothers. They always favor the big banks and the big dealers. And do you remember? I think it was Boxing Day, which is December 26th. I think silver was up like 10 cents, more than 10%. And they came out and then they closed the market for like 6 hours. It wasn't even a circuit breaker. And they used this excuse of this data center that there was a glitch or something. But yeah, Friday, nothing, right? Was down more than 10%. I saw a headline today on X that one of the Chinese markets, I don't know if it was the Shanghai Gold or Futures Exchange, they used the circuit breakers today to halt because silver went down quite a bit. So they're doing their job. But yeah, they will do whatever it takes uh, to help the bankers, because the bankers really are in charge. I mean, the COMEX CME, it's now a public company. It used to be owned by the yeah, the people who traded in the exchange. You could be a partner. You could have gone and bought, a seat on the COMEX, but now it's owned all by the big financial institutions like BlackRock and others. I haven't looked exactly, but they're going to favor. Yeah, they're going to favor these people, and if they're in trouble, they're gonna play dirty. They played dirty back in 2021 in the first silver squeeze movement. I mean, the head of the CFTC even said, "Oh, we had to tamp down the price of silver." I mean, for the regulator to say that. So yeah, no, David Jensen is right. And I think even today they didn't use it. I mean, we were down quite a bit earlier, and I didn't see the market stopping. Maybe it did, but yeah, they'll. I think, Jesse, what this shows is that they're really desperate, and but I don't think it's going to work because we're not in 1980 anymore. We're in 2026, and there's a lot more interest in silver and a lot more exchanges where people could move to buy real physical silver and gold. COMEX and LBMA, if they keep up with their shenanigans, there'll be history.
The sponsor of today's episode is ARC Silver Gold Osmium. Owner Ian Everard is praised even by his competitors as one of the most honest and level-headed bullion dealers in the United States. They have some great prices. You can see some of them displayed right now on screen. Take advantage of these specials today by reaching out to Ian at 307-264-9441 or by email at ian@arcsgo.com. Make sure to tell him, of course, that Commodity Culture sent you. And now, back to the interview. Very well said. And I do want to go back to your comment about this isn't 1980 anymore because, it does bring to mind the recent price action, the hockey stick parabolic rise, the dramatic fall on the other side. I'm sure many are thinking the same thing that I am, that it kind of looks similar to 1980 and 2011. If we look back, though, and adjust the 1980 high to today's prices, we have not yet retraced that level, which is a little over 200 US dollars, I believe. What are your thoughts there? Because obviously the narrative out there and all of the evidence you've presented and people like David Jensen when it comes to the COMEX and the price suppression is very real. But even if it is real, sometimes the narrative doesn't get reflected in the price of an asset. So why do you think that this time we're going to be able to recover as opposed to staying flat for decades, as happened after the 1980 high?
Yeah, well, a lot of people show the long-term charts, or they don't even show charts. They just say, "Oh, in 1980 it reached that high, in 2011, and then it dropped." But if you look at a really long-term chart of gold, for example, from 1970 till now, and logarithmic, because a lot of times they show these like normal charts, which don't reflect the price on a percentage basis, and they look really steep. They look like a massive bubble. But I mean, the chart of gold monthly going back to 1970, yes, it's taking off since the beginning of actually 2024. And yeah, it's really taken off in 2025 and 6. But if you look at what it did in the 70s, we're not even like we haven't even matched what the price did in the 70s. And I don't discount the fact that we need corrections. I even said about a month or 6 weeks ago when gold was like taking off, when it broke 43, 4,400, and it was trading around 48, that I thought we could go pretty much nonstop to around 53, 54, and that we could see a correction. And I guess we did. But I think, yeah, the bankers, they used it as an excuse to smack it even more. But yeah, the reason I think it's going to be different this time is that the fundamentals are still there. The debt is still there. The leverage in the financial system is still there. Geopolitically, we just saw China announce this weekend, Xi Jinping, that they really want to push their currency as the major reserve currency. So that's a challenge to the dollar. We're seeing even allies of the United States not very happy with the treatment that President Trump is like serving them, right? And they don't want to be also as dependent on the dollar. So, yeah, and I don't really see any way out. People are talking about Warsh. I don't know if you want to go into him now, that he's going to be like Paul Volcker. And I think that's complete baloney, to be honest, because Paul Volcker, he he let rates go to 20%, I think the discount rate. And at the time, though, the debt to GDP was 35%. And you had a really bad recession in 1980, and then another one in 81. It was like a double dip. And Jimmy Carter lost the election in 1980 because of that. So if Warsh is going to be tough and wind down the balance sheet, and I've heard people say that, oh, he's going to help Main Street, not Wall Street. But I don't see how he can do both. I mean, there is one thing that he could do to help Main Street, and that would only be like a sugar rush, temporary sugar rush. And that would be to revalue the statutory price of gold, like from 42.22 to around where we're now. And I've calculated that the Treasury would get a $1.2 trillion windfall. They could use that to buy back some of the I think 4 trillion or so that the Fed owns of treasuries. They could do that, and then send some of it as well. Send a check to the people at the bottom who are suffering, and then they might, do well in November this year, the election. But yeah, if you look at what he said, he thinks rates should be down to around 2 or 3 or 4%, 2 or 3. So he sees room for rate cuts. So I'm not sure how he wants to do quantitative tightening. I mean, that's the opposite of loosening policy. So I think people use that as well, or maybe the algorithms saw, well, Warsh is going to be chairman. But why would Trump bring in someone that's really hawkish if he was having such an ugly battle with Jay Powell for like over a year? They opened a criminal investigation, into him. Why do you really think he's going to pick someone? Trump is going to pick someone that's going to be like even worse than Powell, because Powell has been cutting rates. So yeah, that's why I think things are not like 1980 and 2011. That's the way I see it. I could be wrong, but I'm keeping my money where my mouth is, like my metals. The last place I want to put too much money in or fiat currency in is with the banks.
Yeah, and that's a great point about Warsh. Why would he be, hawkish when Trump has been going after Powell to the point of criminally investigating him. Now, I have zero sympathy for Jay Powell. He's an evil person. Guys, all these people are evil, and they're out to enrich themselves in their inner circles and consolidate their own power at the expense of the citizens. None of these people have anybody's best interest at heart. So people need to wake up to that fact first and foremost. But what do you make of this criminal investigation into Jay Powell? He believes it's a politically motivated hit job based on the fact that he's not lowering interest rates in the face of President Trump's demands. Now, some people will point out this isn't the first time that the Fed chair and a sitting U.S. president have been in conflict and have been asked to lower rates. But what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think now that is not as important anymore because he's picked his new candidate, and I'm not sure how, yeah, if what's going to come out of that. Yeah, unless Powell were to like raise rates in the next meeting, I think he'll be okay, and he'll just retire from the Fed and probably get a job at BlackRock or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let's talk about gold specifically for a moment here, because also falling quite hard, but only 9% as opposed to silver's massive drop. Currently on the day, we're down around 4.5%. So we're at around $4,600 an ounce. So if we compare gold's drop to that of silver, do you think gold could perhaps recover faster given central bank buying and all the other tailwinds around gold kind of being reintroduced to the monetary system, not obviously as a gold-backed currency or anything, but we're just seeing its importance in terms of central bank buying, Basel III, and all of the government debt and deficits. Gold's role as money seems to be shining more than ever. Do you think that will help it more than silver when it comes to recovering from this correction?
Actually, I don't. I think silver is really on a it's a different kind of energy now. Silver after we broke 50. And so I think when silver recovers, it's going to really motor ahead. Not that gold won't either, but I think, yeah, when things pick up again, silver will do even better. So, yeah.
Well, let's talk about the list because it seems like everybody in Washington is implicated here. We are at a point where it's looking more and more like a huge portion of the political and corporate elite in the US and perhaps around the world are all child abusing monsters and the literal personification of evil, which explains a lot about the monetary system that we live under and just the way everything is set up. Do you expect anyone to be held accountable here? And the reason I'm asking you about this specifically is because I saw you tweeting about it recently, so I really wanted to get your take. Will they just keep sweeping it under the rug, or will they, as the damning evidence keeps mounting, who's prosecuting anybody? Because everybody seems to be complicit and have leverage over everybody else due to all this horrible things everybody did. Do you think they're just going to let the files come out and say, you know what, either you all start a revolution or nothing's going to happen here?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to see like some very like influential and wealthy people that are on that list. And if they're tried and found guilty, that they would be put in jail or even worse. I mean, in the US, you have capital punishment. We don't here in the UK. And that's what Thomas Massey, who's been instrumental in getting that list out, that's what he said. When we see like a billionaire friend of Trump or whoever in an orange suit doing a perp walk, then we know that justice is being done. But they could also find some kind of massive crisis, create a massive crisis that overwhelms all the talk about this list and who's on it. That people will forget about it because there will be some kind of existential crisis that they'll come up with. You know, a little bit like on 9/11, the day before 9/11, and I didn't even know it at the time. It was only years later that I learned that Donald Rumsfeld, the Secretary of Defense, made a speech, and he said the Pentagon couldn't account for $2.3 trillion. And that was in 2001. And the next day, a plane hit the Pentagon exactly where the accounting department was, and no one talked about that missing 2.3 trillion until years later when it was too late. So that what I'm trying to say here, yeah, beware of some kind of major false flag event to and if they don't, there could be, like you said, maybe justice will be done. Maybe we need some kind of Nuremberg style trial for all these people. But I'm not holding my breath. It seems like in other countries, even in France, they do arrest politicians. But in the US and the UK, that never seems to happen. They always seem to be above the law, and I think that's what people are getting tired of that, or not even tired, but it's really bad for the whole system, for society, for the economy, because if people don't trust the people in charge, things get really messy. And that's another reason why I think it's good to have gold and silver, because gold and silver are incorruptible and they're neutral. They're not dependent on these people's promises or anything like that. So yeah, this list is quite amazing. I'm not surprised, because I've heard, and from what I've read from history, that one way to keep the public divided is to have this political theater, and usually the people in charge, who are supposedly in charge in politics, are basically puppets of the powers behind the scene, and they usually recruit people that they can control, and people who are blackmailable are usually a lot easier to control. So I'm not surprised this is all coming out, though. It's I'm just surprised it has come out, actually, and it took Thomas Massey to do it, because Trump wasn't interested anymore, and like people were saying, "Oh, this Epstein client list doesn't exist. It's it's not real," but it is.
Yeah, and speaking of people being held to account, you're absolutely right there. In the US, the UK, Canada, especially as well, politicians are not held to account for crimes. Justin Trudeau, it was finally decided by the Court of Appeals in Canada that he illegally evoked the Emergencies Act to crush a peaceful protest, and he's sailing around on a yacht with Katy Perry, going to Davos. In South Korea, their former president, for one day, declared martial law. Nobody was hurt. Nothing bad happened as a result in terms of people being injured or anything like that. He's being thrown in jail for 5 years in South Korea for that one day of declaring martial law unlawfully. And in Canada, they do this, and I mean, it's completely beyond the pale at this point.
In China, which is supposed to be a horrible communist country, they really punish like anyone involved in corruption, or and they punish it. It's the ultimate punishment they give them in China for corruption and all that. I'm not saying China's perfect, but unfortunately, there's no one to guard the guards in the U.S. Or in the West. Yeah, there's no rule of law for the people at the top, and yeah, that's a dangerous cocktail, I would say. But the symptom is normal for times of the monetary and financial times that we live in, and by that I mean the insurmountable amount of debt, the money printing, political and geopolitical chaos. And that's why I still think we're going to get hyperinflation eventually. People are going to lose faith and confidence in these people. Uh, I'm not sure what difference Kevin Warsh is going to make. Even he was supposedly, I'm not sure, I haven't looked, but I've heard that he's on that list too.
Yeah, and I want to jump to a thought that just came to my mind, which is The Great Taking, David Rogers Webb. This is a very fascinating book. I believe it came out 1 or 2 years ago. I don't remember exactly. I know we've had discussions about it, maybe on this show or on the VRIC Media channel as well. Now, this is basically a legal framework that has been established worldwide by the elite, the bankers, the people pulling the levers of power behind them, the elite families of this world, to basically seize all securities potentially. And there's a legal framework through which to do it, because when you buy a stock in a company, you don't actually have direct ownership of that stock anymore. It used to work that way, but now there's different intermediaries and you just have a claim on ownership, kind of like when you deposit your money in the bank. And there's potentially a mechanism, according to Webb, that will allow those assets to be seized. Could that potentially be their escape hatch? Or what if this list really turns into something where we start to see so many people implicated and it looks like justice could be served or there will be repercussions, that they could perhaps use that nuclear option to seize all of the securities? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I guess the outcome of this list, if things get really tumultuous and people revolt and the system implodes, people lose complete faith, the markets would collapse. I'm not even sure if the Great Taking would work in that case. Uh, but yeah, the Great Taking is more for a deflationary, collapse, a run-of-the-mill deflationary collapse, not a Mad Max societal breakdown because of people actually realizing. Because a lot of us, like you and me, know about this, but I would say 99% of the people, maybe a little less, have no clue. They think that our leaders and yeah, and the bankers, they're looking after their interests, which is funny, isn't it? So yeah, I'm not even sure that the Great Taking would work in such a if it gets really bad, it might not work. So even having paper certificates for stocks might not work. Gold and silver will work, but you're going to have to work hard to keep a hold of it, because if there's no law and order, if there's chaos everywhere, if it's like the Wild West, yeah, that's the danger.
Well, walk us through the hyperinflation scenario that you were laying out before, because I believe we're reaching a critical moment in global history right now. We're seeing conflicts around the world mounting, this government corruption being thrown in the face of citizens, the push for censorship, destruction of free speech, manipulated markets, the broken fiat currency system, and of course, the list, basically satanic people doing horrible things. Um, the only solution I see is the complete destruction of the current political and monetary system, whether that's forced through a revolution or happens through a collapse as people lose complete confidence in both the currency and the parasites, the political class behind the issuance of that currency. So that makes sense that that would then lead to a hyperinflationary scenario. I guess the question is, what will that look like, boots on the ground? And is the real solution here for those who could potentially see this coming, stack gold and silver, perhaps store food and water as well in case there's shortages of those as well? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it would be the French Revolution to the power of 10, I guess. Yeah, it would be really chaotic, I would say. And I guess there will be some places in the world that might be slightly better, but they will be inaccessible for most people. Only the very wealthy that think ahead, don't wait until it happens. But yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, I just hope it doesn't happen. That there is some justice done, and people uh, are yeah, are not so unhappy with their leaders that the whole system breaks down. But the hyperinflation, I think it's the best thing that could happen, because if you destroy the currency, these people they don't have access to the financial power that fiat currency gives them. You know, I would say that prior to 1971, I'm not saying the elites were perfect, but I don't think there was as much corruption and nefarious activity as there has been, because under a sound money system, it's politicians have to think twice before they spend public funds willy nilly, and so yeah, I think it would be a good thing. It would probably help stop a lot of the corruption and all the wrongdoing that is going on still now, I would say.
Yeah, there would just be a period of pain in between that transition as we switch to a new system, and a lot of people will get hurt there, which is why I think obviously gold and silver having sound money outside of counterparty risk in that event is so important. Mario, tell us about the Innecco 64 YouTube channel and anywhere else people can follow you online.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I try to look at things, yeah, on a with a contrarian tilt. I'm a proponent of the Austrian school of economics, like sound money, small government, free markets. Yeah, and sound money, of course, means no fiat currency. Yeah, I've been posting content since late 2015. Yeah, and literally every day. So yeah, there's plenty of stuff there, and I'm on Twitter or X as well at Monaco 1964.
Great. I'll put links to the Innecco 64 YouTube channel as well as your X account in the description below. Thank you once again, Mario. It's been a blast. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us today. Our sponsor, ARC Silver Gold Osmium, has some great prices on silver bullion products. You can see them on screen right now. These are subject to change, and while supplies last, reach out to owner Ian Everard today at 307-264-9441 or by email at ian@arcsgo.com, and make sure to tell him that Commodity Culture sent you, and pick up your Stack Silver, not Fiat t-shirt. Now is a better time than ever to reiterate your belief in sound money and do it with style. Use the link in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Commodity Culture is a series on commodities and natural resources. If you would like to see more, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you're always up to date with the latest episodes.